Hello everybody, E here. Welcome back to another Stephen King review where I'm carrying on my reviews of his entire back catalog. I explained in the last video, The Stand, why I'm doing this. I will link to that video down there in the doobly-doo, but let's just jump right into the review. So today we are talking about Night Shift, Stephen King's first short story collection. Right off the bat, I want to say this is it takes the number 3 spot for my favorite short story collection of all time. Right behind Books of Blood by Clive Barker at the number 1 spot. And at the number 2 spot, there is Things We Lost in the Fire by Mariana Enriquez. This short story collection is absolutely iconic. And I'm going to go through each and every story and talk about why I like them or don't like them. Spoiler alert, I will be talking about things that happen in the story. And also, there's only one story in here I don't like. Luckily, it's first, so let's get that out of the way. Alright, so the first story is Jerusalem's Lot. I'm laughing. I don't like this story at all. It's a bit of, I don't know, Cthulhu mythos. It's very H.P. Lovecraft, and I don't care too much about Lovecraft. There are people that are argued it's more Arthur Machen, whatever, however you pronounce his name. This one, it bores me to tears. It's one of the only, I guess, Salem's Lot tie-ins, if you even want to consider it a tie-in, that I don't like. It's just one of those stories that does absolutely nothing for me, and it is literally, for me, the worst story in the collection. Next up, we have Graveyard Shift. Graveyard Shift was made into a very fun horror movie. It's a story about giant rats in a paper mill or something like that. Stephen King spent a lot of time doing mill work before he hit it big. And I believe Tabby did also. They worked in laundries, all different kinds of stuff. I call her Tabby, like I know her personally, Tabitha. And then they did teaching jobs also. But just to make the ends meet. And I think that's why Stephen King covers such a diverse and eclectic fandom, because you have the white collar, blue collar, every single collar. He especially back then, he had his finger on the pulse of America, no matter what class you were in. Here's something that I will say, that might catch a little gruff, but I want to throw this out there real quick because we'll be talking about it more when I review The Dead Zone. People say that Stephen King just started talking about politics, or they don't like him talking about politics, but these are the same people who say that, The Dead Zone's one of their favorite books, or 11/22/63 is one of their favorite books. This story has nothing to do with politics, but I just wanted to throw that out there. He's been talking about politics because it is a very American thing, to complain about politics, because we have the rights to do so. I'm not saying no one else does, but that's one of the key things of our democracy, if you want to call that, instead of an oligarchy. But this story especially, I think, has his finger on the pulse of the working man, because at that time it was still fresh enough for him that he knew what he was writing about. Next up, we have Night Surf. Night Surf is a tie-in short story to The Stand. It mentions a disease, Captain Trips, all that in the story, and you don't hear too many people talking about it. I'm not sure if people miss it, or there's plenty of tie-ins to work before and work after this collection. And Night Surf is one of those ones you don't have to have read The Stand to get it. The story is very, very basic. I'm not sure if he wrote it before The Stand or after The Stand, but it's a real cool tie-in. I like it a lot. I Am the Doorway. This is the story that is shown on. I don't have the actual first edition. I think it's the first edition paperback with the eyes on the hand, but this is the story that has the eyes in the hand. It's a very, very odd, creepy image, and eventually I will get my hands on this book, but until then I'll pop it up right here. Needless to say, I like this story. There's a creepy cosmic horror sense to it that it works better here than it works in something like Jerusalem's Lot. And I'm not sure why. Maybe I'm a little biased in that, I want my Salem's Lot stories to be about vampires, and Jerusalem's Lot isn't about vampires. It's about an old evil. Now, is that the thing that draws the vampires to Salem's Lot? I don't know, but we're not talking about that one anymore. Anyway, so I Am the Doorway is a very fun and creepy story. Next up, we have The Mangler, a story that I always forget is in this collection. I don't know why. I think it's in Skeleton Crew. For the longest time, I thought The Mist was in this book. Not I thought, I always confused it. It's not that I thought, that it was not in Skeleton Crew. For some odd reason, every time I think about The Mist, I think it's in Night Shift, and The Mangler I think is in Skeleton Crew. But this one is noteworthy right now because he actually mentions this, how many decades later, 5 decades, 40, 50 years later, he mentions the Mangle in, let's see here, Billy Summers, sorry. He mentions the Mangle or the Mangler, he mentions the Mangle, but it's a laundry press machine that becomes sentient and starts eating people, as things do in Stephen King stories. This story is so much fun. I even like the absolutely terrible Robert Englund movie. He isn't in it much. He just plays the guy who owns the Mangler, owns the laundry thing. Once again, this is Stephen King, reaching back into his blue-collar days and writing about those times. Now, did he write this, while he was working in a laundromat? Not a laundromat, but a laundry facility? I don't know. But I love these smaller stories about working men and women and them trying to fight some unstoppable evil. Especially something like a laundry press or whatever the Mangle is. It's just a huge hulking machine that eats people. And I'm a big fan of stuff like that. Next up, we have The Boogeyman. The Boogeyman is a lot of y'all's favorite short stories. I never saw this coming until I started this channel, and especially on my best Stephen King short stories, if I can find it. I got a lot of videos, y'all. I think 650, something like that. But if I can find it, then I will put it down there in the doobly-doo. But this... This is one of those stories I don't remember a whole hell of a lot about. I remember liking it. It's a very, very short story. If I recall correctly, yeah, it's only 12 pages long. That's short for Stephen King. But I was surprised to find that there was so much love for this story, and I'm not sure why. I need to reread it again. Maybe I'll do a video. But if this is one of your favorite Stephen King short stories, let me know down there in the doobly-doo why you love it so much. Maybe I can find it next time I read it. If I do, I'll probably read it before I read but I'll probably read it before I review The Dead Zone, just because I'm not entirely sure, but I want to get your guys' input. For me, it's a very forgettable story. Not that it's bad, but it's a forgettable story for me. I vaguely remember what happens. I know it's on the creepy side, but why is it y'all's favorite? I don't understand. Yeah, just let me know down there in the doobly-doo. Next up, we have Gray Matter. Gray Matter is, I firmly believe Gray Matter is the tie that binds. When I did my Stephen King, when I did my It, the Tommyknockers, and Dreamcatcher, Thursday Theorists, I talk about this. This is the first time we meet an entity like Pennywise, Mr. Gray, and Pennywise even introduces himself in It as Mr. Gray, or Pennywise the Dancing Clown. He's kind of like a SoundCloud rapper, aka this, aka that. But you get a sense that Stephen King had this idea for forever, this shape-shifting thing. But the tie-in here is you have Dreamcatcher, Mr. A, Mr. Gray from, Duddits calls him Mr. A. But I can't help but feel like that is the glue that holds the entire Stephen King universe together, that puts Pennywise in the same league as the aliens from Dreamcatcher, the aliens from Tommyknocker, and also, it's just the Greys is a term in general for aliens. So that's my glue, and I love this story just for the creepiness when that thing starts coming down the stairs. Man, anyways, it's freaky as hell. I do not love the Creep Show, the new Shudder Creep Show adaptation. I don't love it. I think there's too much of it. I know that sounds odd, but I think the story works fine as it is in the story, in the book, in the collection. I'm all right with it. It's not a bad thing. It's just I prefer the story much more. Next up, we have Battleground. This story is just a whole lot of fun. It's about army toys coming to life and a man trying to fight his way out of his own apartment. Fantastic. I mean, one of the things that makes this collection so great is that there's such a diversity of stories, and that can be said for any Stephen King collection. But in this one especially, there's really goofy stories. There's heartfelt stories. There's terrifying stories. This one for me is just a whole hell of a lot of fun, and this one and the next couple are the reason why this is my favorite Stephen King collection. Next up, we have Trucks. Just like the Mangler, another story about sentient machines. The big trucks get possessed. Of course, this was made into the absolutely terrific in a, it's so bad it's good type of way, but it was made into Maximum Overdrive, which Stephen King directed himself while he was completely and utterly blitzed on cocaine. You can tell when you watch the movie. It has one of the most iconic, I guess, faces, that Green Goblin on the front of the truck, as one of the most iconic images, and that's Stephen King all over. Just iconic images, iconic image after iconic image. I only prefer to read the story of this one over watching the movie because the story is so short. I can get through it in far less time. Nice, succinct, compact story, whereas the movie has its lulls, even though it is absolutely batshit crazy. Next up, we have Sometimes They Come Back. Another one that was made... all of these stories, not all of them, of course. I think all of them have been made in like the Dollar Babies thing, where Stephen King sold the rights for $1 to independent filmmakers. But a lot of these were made into big budget movies, or some of them lower budget movies, like The Mangler. With Sometimes They Come Back, I believe this Joker came out in the theaters. If I'm wrong about that, let me know down there in the doobly-doo. And then it had numerous, just like another story in here, sequels that had nothing to do with the original. But this is, of course, a story about these bullies who die in a car accident and they come back, or is it the... now I'm confusing myself. Is this a story where the author comes back to the town and gets haunted by the bullies? I think that's it, in the car. It's basically a zombie story or a revenant story, but it works, and it's a lot of fun. Oh, maybe it was just the movie, but don't they come back as students in his classroom? Isn't he a teacher? Man, I'm kind of reliving these. I'm not sure if that's the movie or if that's the story. Let me know down there in the doobly-doo. Strawberry Spring is a very subtly creepy story about a serial killer. I believe it's on a college campus. A serial killer on a college campus. People being beheaded. Is that it? I'm sure. One of the reasons I like doing these reviews and going, note by note is because, I'm remembering the stories as I go along. I might be wrong about this one. I don't know. But I like this one as well, if it's the one that I'm thinking about. It's not a story that gets talked about a lot. It's not one of my favorites, but it is a great story. Like I said, the only story in here that I don't like, that I don't really ever want to read again, is Jerusalem's Lot. And I think that speaks a lot to Stephen King's, catalog, that there's, or not catalog, but the things on offer in this collection. It's just not bad stories in here. Usually there are at least half of the stories are so-so, and this one just fires one right after another. After you get past that first story, and some of y'all like it, but I don't. After I get past that first story, I'm good to go. The rest of the collection is absolutely fantastic, and Strawberry Spring, if I remember correctly, and I'm pretty sure that I do, is one of those stories. Next up, we have The Ledge. A lot of Stephen King's work is about infidelity, and this one is no different. This one, a guy finds out that his wife is cheating on him, so he sticks him out. He sticks the guy that is sleeping with his wife out on a ledge, and he must make it all the way around the building, and then he's supposedly free to go. This one was it Tales from the Dark Side, or was it Creepshow? I can't remember which one. Or was it, hang on, Cat's Eye. Was it Cat's Eye? I think it was Cat's Eye. There's so much Stephen King stuff. Good Lord. Anyways, but as far as adaptations I'm talking about, another thing is you guys have been asking me to review Stephen King movies, and I'm kind of on the fence about it. If I do it, it's going to be something where I do a, kind of book versus movie kind of thing, or I'm only going to do the ones that were written or that Stephen King had a part in. Oh, The Lawnmower Man. Yes, this story is absolutely crazy. It's nuts, and that's one of the reasons why I love this collection so much. Just about a dude who shows up, gets butt naked, and starts cutting the grass with his teeth. That's it. And somehow it turned into a movie about virtual reality. Next, Quitters, Inc. is a horrifying story, especially for me who read it while I was a smoker. I used to be a 2-pack a day smoker up until I think I was 35. It was 35. And now I quit for several years, and now I'm back on that bullshit. I'm smoking cigars again. But it's just one of those stories. Like, what do you love more, the addiction or the people that you care about? And I think that's I think that theme alone makes that a fantastic story, but the story itself is also amazing. I Know What You Need is a very creepy story about black magic and stalking. It's good because it's almost like a r/nice guys Reddit thread kind of deal. This guy. Anyway, I don't want really to spoil this one, but it is about someone who is obsessed with someone else, and those are just my favorite types of stories. Next up is Children of the Corn, which was made into a movie with Sarah Connor herself. Sarah Connor. Anyways, but Sarah Connor herself. Connor. Why can't I say Linda Hamilton? Anyways. And I like the movie a lot. It's 19 different, it doesn't have 19, but all of its sequels can fuck off. But this story, I really enjoy this story, and I do like the film adaptation, especially the people that were cast as, was it Isaac and Malachi? I think those casting choices were absolutely brilliant. But this story is fun, it's creepy, and it's one of my favorite subgenres or tropes, which is scary kids. The Last Rung on the Ladder. If you know, you know. The story is fantastic, and it has one of the best twists Stephen King has ever written. The Man Who Loved Flowers. Don't remember a whole lot about this one. I liked it. This is something I get into conversations with quite often. People ask me if I like certain things. I'm like, yeah, well, what did you like about it? I can't remember exactly what I liked about it, but I liked the story. And if I were to go back and read this, I would want to read it again. It's the stories that stand out for me that are bad that I have a lot more to say about it. So when I get to points with like Jerusalem's Lot, I can at least explain what I didn't like. With this one, I don't remember a whole lot about it, but I never want to skip it. And I think that's important, even though I don't remember every single note of the story, or maybe don't remember the plot at all, that I would read it again. Unlike Jerusalem's Lot, where as soon as I open this collection, I jump directly into the second story, but I wouldn't skip this one. One for the Road, which is the second Salem's Lot connected story here, but this one actually deals with vampires, and I think this story is scarier than Salem's Lot. There are very good scenes in Salem's Lot, but in this story especially, the eyes, everything about it, the loneliness, the isolation, everything, it just hits on all cylinders for me. It's about a guy who breaks down on the side of the road, and he ends up running into vampires from Salem's Lot. I think, again, I think this story is far scarier than the actual book Salem's Lot, even though there are great scenes in Salem's Lot. Danny Glick at the window, anybody? Anyways, but I really, this one, I hear more about this one than any other story in this collection, and I approve of that. It's a story that feels bigger than it actually is. And I think stories like this are the reason why people say they prefer Stephen King's short stories over his longer stuff, because the horror, tends to die out. It isn't as, he can't carry it throughout the whole thing. I agree and disagree. Every horror novel has lulls. You have to have some kind of balance there. And I think Stephen King does that well. But if you're looking to just get in, get dirty, and get out, these short stories are definitely where it's at. And finally, The Woman in the Room, another story that I remember absolutely nothing about, but I would read it again. No issue. I do know that there are people out there that complain about one thing that I remember from this story, and that there's no quotation marks. He does a M dash in front of the actual dialogue. I'm not sure why. Victor Laval did this in his, I think his first two books, Slapboxing with Jesus is a collection, and The Ecstatic, where they use, it's not like Cormac McCarthy, where you have absolutely no idea that someone is speaking. It's just an M dash before the dialogue. King does that in this one, and that's the only thing that I remember about the story. But would I reread it right now? Yeah, sure. But that's everything for now. I know this is rather scattered. I'm just trying to go through and remember these stories instead of rereading his entire catalog again. I just want to go through and see what I remember correctly, and get you guys to chime in down there in the doobly-doo. But have you read Night Shift? I'm pretty sure you have if you're a fan of this channel. Let me know your favorite stories down there in the doobly-doo. But until next time, I have been E, you have been you. This has been another Stephen King review. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye!